morning, beloved friends, and welcome to the Sunday, Epiphany Sunday, and the first Sunday in the year 2025. Happy New Year once more. And welcome to today's edition of Homily Highlights by Father Emmanuel Nazimako Asawa. Our theme today is the Magi and us. Lessons on the journey through 2025. It is deep that the solemnity of Epiphany is coming at the beginning of the year. And it is so deeply insightful because it is a ceremony that talks about the star of Jesus in the gospel, which shone forth, that is manifested. That's actually what Epiphany is, the showing forth and manifestation of Jesus, not just to the Jews as we had during Christmas and New Year, but now to the entire whole world, even to the Gentiles. Because that star that shone and that was recognized by the Magi were Gentiles. So it was a star now that was now shining through the entire whole, the announcement of Jesus to the entire whole world. And that star of Jesus now confirmed the prophecy of the first reading of today. Their manifestation, the shining forth of Jesus to the entire world. And it pretty much beautifully synchronizes with the summons that we need to hold by our hands as we begin a year. The journey of the Magi today will now represent our own journey through this year 2025. But even more than that, our journey also towards self-actualization, our journey towards meaningful existence, our journey to Christ, our journey to our eternal destiny. And the elements that we find in this beautiful journey, all teach us, all elaborate to us the beautiful thing that we must take note of as we make this journey, especially in this new year. And that's why we want to look at some of the lessons. But before these lessons, let us look at about 4 important imageries in this journey. There are much more, but for the sake of time, we want to just highlight 4. The first is the star of Jesus. That's the first thing that strikes us today, the star of Jesus. We can look at this star of Jesus from the point of view of the Magi, whom this star directed, and from the point of view of Jesus himself, who exuded the star. Let's begin from the first point of view of the Magi. It teaches the star of Jesus represents everything that the Lord has earmarked, highlighted for us, given for us to lead us through this journey. Everything the Lord has provided to help us advance towards Him. It is the star. It could be the light of reason. It could also be the light of intuition and inspiration. It could be the light of conscience that helps us to move in the right moral way. It could be the light of scientific information that helps us in this journey. It could even be the right light of revelation. Divine revelation that can come to us through the scriptures. As we also find today, because it was through the scriptures that even Herod eventually came to realize where Jesus was to be born. Or even through the tradition of the church, the authority of the church, the tradition like the chief priests of today who were eventually consulted. It could be the light of nature, because God speaks to us in volumes through nature, through what we see around us, through what we behold around us. All of these things are the stars that God has provided for us. It would be the light of dreams, revelations, other sources of revelation that God, because God is always in the habit of providing stars for us to help us. It is God's design that we, all of us, achieve our eternal destinies. And we are only wise when we can recognize our stars. Unfortunately, most people do not recognize stars. It could even be the individuals that God has provided and positioned along our ways, along our earth's ways. The priests, those who speak to you, those whose voices compel your allegiance and obedience. You are only wise when you recognize the star, because all of these things are instruments that God has provided. And then you moves you to the right direction. That's when you become wise. Just like the Magi. From the point of Jesus himself, who exuded the star also can represent every other endowment God has given to us to announce us to the world, to advertise us to the world, to make us shine, like the summons of the first reading to Isaiah 61, arise and shine. Everything that God has imbued into us also to help us also direct others. to help us also lead others in the right path. That's what the star means. So number 2, also we talk about the gifts of the Magi and their homage. The gifts of the Magi and their homage also, we find it very deeply instructive today, because they tell us that all of us must give our gifts. And the gift that we have to give to God must correspond to the nature of God. Just like we have in these people who gave gifts, the gifts of the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And we saw that gold corresponded with the kingship of Christ. The gifts we give to God must resemble God. It must be gifts that are befitting of God. And that kingship, that the gift of frankincense, didn't just represent the kingship of Christ, but also challenges our homage. Because a king will demand homage, and royalty will command loyalty. So if we can't give God the gift of gold today, we can at least give him our homage that we must give to God. Then the gift of frankincense presents his priesthood, and it challenges our prayers, our offerings, and our sacrifices and worship, because that's what a priest does. And then the gift of myrrh represents his prophethood and challenges the attention, the attentive ears that we must surrender to his voice, the listening that we must give him. So all of these things are gifts. So in all, it teaches us that we are very expected and demanded to give God both our worship, our homage, and our attention. And that when we want to give people gifts, it must be things of value. And just like the Magi today who gifted Jesus kneeling down, our gift also must be corroborated and counted through with sincerity, with sacrifice, and with humility and homage, and with reverence, so that we don't give God condescendingly, and we don't give God gifts that cost us nothing. That's what we learn. And when we don't have anything to give God, we can surrender everything, including our weaknesses, to God. God, who sees the hearts, will know that what we are giving him. And importantly, this gift, number 3, was received by Mary, was given to Jesus and received by Mary. And that brings us to the third point of today. The image of Jesus in the company of Mary. And that was the end point of these people's journey. And immediately they encountered Jesus and Mary. At the end of that encounter, they followed through another route. It is deeply informative and instructive. And it tells us that Jesus is the end of our journey. Jesus is the end of all human quest, the true end of all human destiny. And that anybody who encounters Jesus truly and meaningfully will have a change of course of life, for better. They didn't follow that direction again after they had encountered Jesus. And then we find again the Herod's palace. The Herod palace, that's number 4. The Herod palace is so important that we think about it, because it represents every object of distraction, attraction, side attraction that placed along our journey's paths, that is aimed by the devil to deny our journey, to delay our journey, to dull our star, to dim our star, to obscure our star. These Magi had it. Everything. The seductive welcome party in disguise that is meant to stall our spiritual growth, stall our journey towards self-realization, actualization, and manifestation. Unfortunately, many people today who are on the journey to Jesus stop at Herod's palace and eventually tie their entire life's ambition to a stake at Herod's palace. Unfortunately, and even worse still, many of our youth today, not just do they stop at Herod's palace, they bring out their frankincense, they bring out their gold, and they bring out their myrrh at Herod's palace. That's why today you have so many people who want to go to university. At the end of the day, they stay in university and then commandeer their entire lives, ambitions into other things that have no connection with why they went to university. That's why you talk about today campus prostitution, campus cultism. That's why you talk about the logic of hookup girls and hookup boys. That's why you talk about those who wanted to learn work, learn trade. At the end of the day, they are carried away. They eventually do not learn the trade because they are carried away by the dictates of peer pressure and all whatnot. That's why you have today so many youths who are continually disillusioned in life, who no longer follow the path that God has allotted for them, who are hung at Herod's Synodic party. And so today's celebration is a wake-up call. A wake-up call for those who are still at Herod's party to realize that it is not their end. That's not where Jesus is. That's not their destiny. To come up again so that their light will once more shine. And so the message of today, after these four beautiful images, we just use it to summarize, is that all of us, we must leave our comfort zone. We must make this journey through 2025. We must leave our comfort zone. We must make a journey, and God will direct us to reach, to advance. As the years increase, as the months increase, let us not just grow in age, because that's what it means to be completely disillusioned, to be completely stagnated. When the only thing that is growing around you is just age, you are stagnated. We must grow. Something in us will grow. Reason, moral, spiritual must grow. We must advance through the course that God has allotted for us. That is the interest, that is the design of God for us. And if we must do that, we must watch it, so that we come out from the Herod palaces, where some of us have staked our internal destinies to carnal and temporal fleeting pleasures. So we must come out. And the beautiful assurance is that God's grace also will still be there. It is the grace of second chance. Once we're able to make the decision to come out, the light will still shine again, as it did to the Magi. Importantly, the celebration of today also teaches us that even the star of God, that which God used to call us to himself, will always elicit varied and varied responses from people. It elicited adoring worship from the Magi. But today you see that from Herod it was hostility and opposition. And then from the chief priests it was indifference. So we must ask ourselves, what will be your own attitude to the star of Jesus, that beacon, that summon of God for you to come to eternal destiny? I pray for you and I pray for myself that in this new year God will help us. It is a new year. So in the end of that new year, that God will help you to nurture that which is in you, that beautiful thing that is in you. In the E of that new year, that God will help you to eschew every negative lifestyle. In the W of that new year, that God will give you the grace to wrestle against satanic forces, and especially the lures and carnal temptations of Herod's party. In the Y of the new year, God will give you the grace to yearn for excellence, like the Magi today, to move towards your destination. E of that new year, God will give you the grace to embrace everything that will help you, everything that God has deposited in you to help announce you to the world. That God will give you that grace. And in the A, that God will give you the grace to awaken everything that is in you that is dying. And in the rise of the new year, the R, God will give you the grace to rise and shine, for your light has come. This is my prayer for you, and this is my prayer for myself, even as I bless you now in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless you. Happy New Year. Continue to like, to share, and to subscribe. God bless you. Finally, avoid the dick of Ebb.